So the question came up in late 2020 is whether HEX is a simple interest system or a compounding interest system, because this mechanism of compounding is somewhat hidden. And actually, it's sort of both. And I think this is among the amazing properties and discoveries of HEX, and goes to one of the other core principles of the project, which is nobody should feel like they missed the boat. There should always be, as Richard liked to say often during the design phase, there should always be meat on the bone for the next guy who comes along. So the behavior that we were worried about was that somebody would pull their coins out and put them back in, and pull them out and put them back in. So the price compounding actually only has to happen when coins come out, because that's the behavior that you want to curtail. You want people to know that pulling their coins out ratchets the price for them and everyone else, but for them, because you can have multiple addresses, and it has to be a global price for a lot of reasons. But specifically, if you think of people who are trying to do this, like cycle their hex through very short stakes, even across a whole array of addresses, as long as the price keeps moving up to match, they can never gain ground on longer commitments. And by doing it on demand, and the fact that everyone ought to know that it's on demand, removes the pressure to try and do that. So there's nothing to be gained by doing that. You can truly believe that the system will always compensate to make sure that your longer commitment out-earns a shorter commitment. I'm going to jump ahead to the audit piece, and then I'll come back. The auditors that were tapped to do this, one of the things that won them the contract is that they had a math PhD who agreed to analyze the business rules and write this up as a formal math proof that no two sequential stakes could out-earn a single stake of the same combined length. So that's the core principle or property that we needed the system to have, to guarantee that the marketing point that longer always pays better is true. Longer always pays better. So we had to explain this to them over a lot of conversations because it is fairly complex. The system is so complex, it's hard to tease out this single property as being one of the critical things to verify. But we did get there. It is in the economics audit, and we proved it to ourselves long before we ever presented it to them. But it is formally documented that, in fact, longer stakes will always out-earn any sequence of shorter stakes. So you can feel secure in that. Jumping back, there was this idea of compounding the price. You only compound on demand so that there's always meat on the bone. So all pressure should be removed. People know that the contract will always pay longer stakes, a larger share of inflation than shorter stakes. So ladders or staggering your stakes or having sort of a mix of lengths is entirely an individual decision. It's actually quite liberating to know that the contract only increases the price on newcomers as required. So if everybody agreed to do long stakes, newcomers could get in every day at the same price that was today's price. It gives a true smooth on-ramp. So as adoption ramps up, and as people come to understand the system better, then we'll hit this kind of nice equilibrium where everyone is making longish or longer time horizon decisions, because there's no incentive to go shorter. There's no, other than, sort of degenerate gamblers or traders who want to be earning a little micro interest here and there and then be sort of playing the trading game. There's very little use case in HEX for that. There's very little to be gained unless you think you're really good at market timing. in part because the contract guarantees that that's not a winning strategy, and in part because so many other people have committed for the long haul that you've diluted the earnings of short stakers. So we ended up kind of accidentally achieving a few goals with one very elegant solution for pricing. Everybody can interact with the contract with full faith that it will pay proportional to the length of your commitment. So you are free to make long commitments with no concern that you're going to get outplayed or outcompeted by people doing sequences of short stakes. You are free to interact with the contract now and for forever because it's trustless, because there are no admin keys, it can't be changed, it doesn't reference any external sources or contracts. So it will always work, and no one can change it. It's on the blockchain kind of eternally. The state can all be sort of read, lifted, airdropped, put on its own chain, whatever it needs to do. It's fully encapsulated and self-sufficient. And because of this, people are free to use this as a nest egg or as a long-term income strategy. And you end up washing out the day trader types or the sort of short commitment people, which is fine if they have reasons to want to do that. They are also free to do that. But the system we designed doesn't encourage it, and the incentives aligned. The system only ratchets the price when it needs to, so that new people can always get in at the best price. But then once they do, they tell their friends better hurry, because the best price you're going to get is always today's price, and you don't know how long it's going to last.